5 fantastic homemade Indian curries that can be put together in just minutes, saving you time, trouble and a trip to the takeaway. And for the quickest results, you should check out my curry paste starter recipe, but if you can't be bothered with all that, I'll give you a workaround in a minute, don't worry. First, it's the ever popular butter chicken, starting with a standard sized tin of tomatoes in a hot pan. Add 200 millilitres of double cream in and 300 grams of my curry paste starter. Now, if you haven't got the curry starter on hand, here's the workaround. Cook a medium onion until soft and add my standard spice mix, which is 3 heaped teaspoons of curry powder, 3 heaped teaspoons of coriander powder, a heaped teaspoon of cumin powder and a heaped teaspoon of garam masala powder. Mix that with 150 millilitres of water. And if this is going too quickly for you, don't panic. All of these recipes are in the description below. Add 6 cloves of garlic, cook for a bit with the onion, get your spices in the pan and add a thumb-sized piece of finely grated ginger. And that was your workaround. The salt you put in will depend on whether you've used the curry starter or not, but again, all the recipes are detailed below. 3 tablespoons of ground almonds, a big knob of butter, around 75 grams for me, a tablespoon of lemon juice. And that, unbelievably, is that. Almost for butter chicken. Give it a stir and continue to simmer while you prepare 2 chicken breasts, which I'm seasoning with salt and pepper and a teaspoon of turmeric, to which I'll add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and I'll rub that all in to velvet the chicken before frying it off. All of these curries I'm making today will comfortably serve 4 people each, although adding more protein will stretch that to 6 people, as these are very generously saucy curries, and that just gives you more flexibility, really, doesn't it? You know, if you've got a big family or you want to batch cook these curries. Gently simmer this for around an hour or so if you can, and have some stock on standby to loosen the whole thing up to your preference. And finishing with fresh herbs is always a good idea. Coriander or parsley for me, because I carry the anti-fresh coriander gene. And that's the butter chicken finished in minutes, giving you lots more time to fart about on your smartphones or beat your children or wherever. Vegan tikka next, starting with 2 chopped bell peppers. If you're not vegan, you should still watch this part of the video, really, because if you don't, you might miss something, mightn't you? I've salted and peppered my chopped peppers, and I'm cooking them on a high heat for a couple of minutes before throwing in 300 grams of my curry paste starter, and I'll go in next with 125 grams of tomato puree. I'm going to knock the heat down a touch to sort of medium now before adding 200 millilitres of coconut milk. Now, a tikka will usually get its tang from yogurt. You can use vegan yogurt if you like in place of the coconut milk, but vegan yogurt is highly processed, so I just use coconut milk and add in a tablespoon of lemon juice. And don't worry, you won't taste the coconut in the final curry. And for the protein element of this vegan tikka, I use 500 grams of cannellini beans, and again, you can increase this if you want to make more portions. Vegetable stock or even just water to loosen everything up. And as you can see, this has only taken a few minutes to put together. And if you're busy, midweek, it's so handy to have the curry paste starter on hand to throw a curry together so quickly. I'll take a taste and add salt and pepper before finishing with a large knob of refined coconut oil. And again, this doesn't taste like coconut. If you eat vegan tikka on a regular basis, you might live to 150 years old. I mean, I've done no research, but you might. And hey, it's chicken balti next, my absolute favourite, a chopped green bell pepper cooking on a high heat to singe the edges. Get a fresh chopped chilli in there, but be careful because these fresh chilies can be a little inconsistent when it comes to the fire held therein. A standard sized tin of chopped tomatoes going in next, and 300 grams of my curry paste starter. Link for that everywhere as already stated. Maybe above, maybe below, maybe in the sidebar over there on the right. A tablespoon of lemon juice and salt and pepper to taste. Now, balti curries cook quicker than the others as it's more of a stir-fry style, so I only velvet the seasoned chicken with 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Using extra cornstarch makes for super soft chicken, but needs more time to cook for the perfect texture, and that suits longer cooking curries. With a balti, just throw it all in. And finish with a large knob of butter and a little bit of stock if the curry becomes too dry. A balti is quite a dry curry anyway, but it's up to you, and if I'm feeling a little flamboyant, I'll finish with a sprinkle of garam masala at the end. The flavours in garam masala are more sensitive to heat, so adding a little at the end just gives a final flavour flourish. Having it with paratha flatbreads here, link below for those. The 8th wonder of the world, they are apparently. The naan bread killer. We're really getting through this now, aren't we? Curry 4, vegetarian option. Chana Zag, standard sized tin of tomatoes, 300 grams of curry paste starter, 200 millilitres of double cream. It's just like a butter chicken, really, with a tablespoon of lemon juice, and this time a handful of spinach leaves, and 500 grams of chickpeas coming in. I'm using black chickpeas, but any chickpeas are great here. 3 tablespoons of ground almonds for extra richness, and this curry really illustrates just how similar a lot of curries are really, because this is just butter chicken with chickpeas and spinach instead of chicken, and that's another great reason to have a reliable curry paste starter on hand, because it can make so many different types of curries depending on what you add to it, and this is why Indian takeaways can offer so many different dishes on one menu. They're essentially doing what we're doing here. I've made my curry paste starter very simple for you to make using spices that you can find anywhere, but you can always put your own twist on things. And I know from the comments that I've had on my channel that you not are no slouches when it comes to different ideas and different spice profiles. And I'm finishing this epic curry video with perhaps the most popular of all curries in the UK, chicken tikka masala. I'm just preparing the basics in a bowl. 300 grams again of my curry paste starter, 125 grams of tomato puree, and around 200 grams of plain yogurt. And just to clarify, my starter has half a teaspoon of salt per 300 grams in it already. So I'll add maybe a half a teaspoon of salt first and then a little more at the end to taste. And once this is cooking in a hot pan, I'll prepare 2 chicken breasts, like I've said before, 3 if you want to stretch it to 6 portions. I'm seasoning this time with salt and pepper and around half a teaspoon of paprika powder. And I'll give all that a good old rub in before velveting with a couple of tablespoons of cornstarch. And you know the drill by this point. Cook it off and hoy it in the sauce before simmering for around an hour or so if you can. And as I mentioned before when doing the balti, if you can't simmer for an hour or so, use less cornstarch to velvet the chicken to get the right texture. Stock and a large knob of butter again to finish. Chicken tikka done. It only took a few minutes to put together like all of these curries. They'll freeze really well if you have that option. Naan breads with my tikka here. Link in the description for those. And if I've saved you some time or some faffing with this video, let me know in the comments. It's always kind of great to hear from you, I suppose. And I'll see you next time, probably.